Hello and good afternoon, class. Okay, so today we have a history class, but before we get to history, I do want to ask for some input on classes that you would all like to know more about, or for us to do a class on. As it stands now, I usually take one person out per day during the week, unless it's a short week or something like that. But I would like to take. We'd all like to take more people out, and then I usually do a second class during the day to make sure that all of you are included. It's difficult to time out doing taking somebody and then also being able to do a Zoom class. So, unless there's a day that you'd all rather do a Zoom class, but I think it's more important that we actually get out and enjoy this wonderful weather and see each other and have human contact and all that. But while we're doing this, I would like to know from you all, what are some things that you would like to know more about? So just text me, let me know. Say, hey DJ, this sounds interesting, or this is something I wanted to know about. We did the class on the planets. We did a class on Africa and the different tribes of Africa, and those were requested by people. So if there's anything that you would like to know more about, be it history, be it anything you would like me to talk about or present on, let me know. There will be still some safety trainings coming up, so for the month of April. And yeah, so we should be able to, we'll have that, but it's only like 2, so, there's a lot more than 2 days in April. Alright, so, but today we have a history class. So, I found this interesting. I was doing something, and as I was doing it, it came up with a question was asked. When did we start using the S.O.S system? Sorry, one moment. And I was like, I don't know. And then it said that it said it was the early 1900s. I won't say the year because it's going to be part of this. But I was like, I wonder what it was that sparked such an interest in S.O.S. Because, there have been emergencies around for a long time, but also it was kind of a predecessor of a way of really contacting people everywhere and having kind of a universal symbol for people to know what to do if you're in distress and how to get help. I guess this probably came before 911. I'm not sure. That would be actually interesting. I'll look that up in a moment. So let's get started. So S.O.S, the meaning in history and today, because it still exists. It's not something that we've gotten away from. So if you've always heard that S.O.S stands for Save Our Ship, S, save, O, our, S, ship, the real S.O.S meaning may surprise you. The important series of 3 letters is a universal distress code from the early 20th century, but despite being easily recognizable, everybody can know it, so they have somebody writing S.O.S in the sand, which you shouldn't do unless you're really in trouble. It doesn't mean what you think. It doesn't mean what you think it means. In fact, S.O.S is not an acronym at all. So an acronym is like that S.O.S, Save Our Ship, or LOL, Laughing Out Loud, or YOLO, You Only Live Once, or all the other ones that are out there. S.O.S is not that. So, what is S.O.S? Alright, so I just looked it up. So 911 was not first used until 1968. So, let's continue with our history. That was when the first phone call was made to 911. There were obviously other emergency phone numbers, but not one centralized until 1968. So a little bit of history within this history. So S.O.S is not an acronym at all, as we said just a second ago. So what does S.O.S stand for? What does it mean? What is the use of all this? Why? So in Morse code, Samuel Morse, when he came up with it, SOS is made up of 3 dots, 3 dashes, and 3 more dots. So dot dot dot, dash dash dash, dot dot dot. Because it's made up of 3 letters, it's natural to assume SOS is an acronym. However, it was never meant to stand for anything. The macaroni. Oh, sorry. I wish I could rewind and take that back, or not. The Marconi. Sorry. Very famous person. So is macaroni, though, Marconi. Maybe somebody named macaroni after Marconi. More history to find out. The Marconi Yearbook of Wireless Telegraphy and Telephony, published in 1918, gives an explanation of the meaning or lack of meaning behind the letter choices. So the signal SOS was adopted simply on account of its easy radiation and its unmistakable character. There is no special significance in the letters themselves. It's just that it's easy. Dot dot dot, dash dash dash, dot dot dot. Do that over and over and over and over and over again. It's just like SOS, 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 and so on until somebody goes, "What do you need? What happened?" So simply, SOS was chosen as a distress signal because it was easy to understand in Morse code and not likely to be confused with other signals. It also has the added benefit of being a palindrome, which just means it's spelled the same forwards and backwards, like mom, M-O-M, spelled the same backwards, M-O-M, or dad, D-A-D, or dad, D-A-D, or kayak, C-A-Y-A-K, spelled the same way backwards, C-A-Y-A-K. Same with race car, R-A-C-E-C-A-R, same backwards, R-A-C-E-C-A-R. Check it out. It's fun stuff, but some of those things really make it easier to remember things and say and keep in mind when you're in a tough situation. You know, a lot of times people don't yell, "Mother!" They yell, "Mom!" Because it's easy. And it goes quick. SOS. Kind of like the moms and dads of danger. So it has the benefit of being a palindrome, a series of letters that reads the same backwards or forwards. In addition, also, SOS looks the same upside down as it does right side up, making it an ideal series of letters to view from the air if written on the beach or in the snow. So yeah, let me show you. Let me get a pen. I've got one right here. So this should be fun. All right, piece of paper. I'm gonna write a big old SOS right here. I need help. Whoa. Sorry. A little bit out of the lines there. S. O. And finally, another big S. All right. So say you could see this from space or something. So I'm like, SOS, help me. I'm in lots of trouble. And then somebody's flying, they're like, oh, but, I'm flying the other way, so what does that even say? And they're like, oh, it says the same thing, SOS, SOS, SOS. Unless you're dyslexic, and then maybe it says 202, depending. But that is why SOS has become such a universally wonderful symbol to use. So, reverse acronyms for S.O.S. Because it is made up of 3 letters, there have been many reverse acronyms, again something spelled forward the same and backwards, it's the same, proposed for SOS. These are 2 of the most common, Save Our Ship, and another is Save Our Souls. I'm guessing if people are like, I don't really care about a ship, well then save our souls. It's like, oh, okay, well, if there's souls involved, I better help. In reality, SOS does not mean either of these things. It's simply a series of attention-grabbing and easily understandable letters that create a universal code. All right. So, CQD. I don't see QD. You see QD. Or CQD. That would be QT. The QT is pretty close, but CQD. Right there. CQD. CQD is the predecessor, came before, to SOS. So in the early days of telegraphs, each country had its own distress signal. In Great Britain, the official signal was CQD. When asked whether CQD stood for anything, Harold Bride, a wireless operator who survived the sinking of the Titanic, reported that it was merely a code call and not an acronym. Oh, great. This cuts off like a ton. Okay, give me a moment because I don't want to get any of this wrong. So, boom. Okay, so SOS was adopted in 1906. So, far before 911 that we had just for in general. SOS was adopted, but more as a code for ships at sea and things like that, or distress, say, I mean, not really for planes yet, but for other reasons. So in 1906, the International Radio Telegraphic Convention in Berlin agreed on a new official distress signal, SOS. Ships in distress shall use the following signal, repeated at brief intervals. So I guess it's not SOS, it's SOS, SOS, and then you keep going that way. It seems necessary to specify that indications concerning a case of distress should be given by means of conventional signals in order that they may be understood by all situations. However, many telegraph operators refused to adopt the universal signal and stuck with their own signals for several years after SOS was adopted. That would change with the sinking of the Titanic. Now, there you go. People didn't know it was a really bad situation. People were way out in the middle of the ocean. And, yeah, so let's see what happened. So, distress call of the Titanic. In 1912, the Titanic struck an iceberg crossing the Atlantic and sank rapidly in frigid, or very, 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 very cold waters. The loss of life and dramatic nature of the disaster revolutionized the way people thought about the SOS distress signal. The telegraph operators on board the Titanic sent a mix of SOS and CQD, joking that this might be their last chance to try the new signal of SOS. The messages became confusing in the panic, help did not come in time, and after the disaster, SOS became the standard international distress call. That is a bit of history I don't know if I needed to know. So, let's read that again. So, telegraph operators on board the Titanic sent a mix of both SOS and CQD, joking that this might be their last chance to try the new signal of SOS. That's not funny. That's terrible. Anyway, so after that, they'd be like, well, guess what? We're going to take it seriously now. That wasn't funny that you guys were joking about that. No, y'all were joking about that. So, we're sticking with it now. So, now... The sun is out. Didn't do that. My apologies, everyone. Modern use of SOS. So, because of the advancement in modern telecommunication, SOS and Morse code are falling into disuse. Boo. In 2007, the Federal Communication System eliminated the requirement that radio operators must know Morse code. The Navy still uses it, but it's not the primary method of signaling distress anymore. So, unfortunately, just like everything great in history, it's going to be passed up by something greater eventually. Okay, so even though SOS does not stand for anything, there are many Navy acronyms that do. learning about these acronyms can help you understand maritime history even better. So if that's something you would like to know more about, more acronyms and such, let me know. If not, this has been the history of SOS and how it stuck and how it helped many people for many years. It's still used again in the Navy, but is not really being used as much anymore because we have so many different modes of, we have satellites and things that can beam all sorts of things all over the world. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the class. Have a great afternoon, and please, if you have any questions, suggestions about this class specifically, comments, let me know. But please, some suggestions about classes, though. Other classes you'd like to know more about: history, philosophy, geography, or some geography quizzes, whatever you'd like. Let me know. All right, or or even social studies. Anyway, ciao for now, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.